ladies and gentlemen, Arnold Fisher is an American hero. He is one of the leading philanthropists in the veterans' care and looking after people after they've returned from war. Erick is a former Navy SEAL who was a part of that program. And so what I would like to do is give Arnold a chance to talk about a little bit about what influenced you. He is, for those of you that don't know him, he is one of the largest real estate moguls in the United States and knows the president pretty well, don't you, Arnold? You have a pretty good read. You got a pretty good read on the president, right? Played golf with him a number of times. But tell our participants and our delegates here at SALT why you got involved in this, where the passion comes from, and what you're doing.
Well, basically, I'm a quintessential American. My grandfathers, both of them came from Eastern Europe. My father and my mother both came from Eastern Europe. And so now I work on Park Avenue in New York on the 42nd floor of an office building. And so I'm pretty lucky because I'm
But an office building you built, sir, right? In an office building you built in 1967,
yes.
right?
Yes.
299 Park. It's his building.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, yes. And so, sitting up on the 42nd floor, looking down Park Avenue, I'm pretty lucky. Here I am, a son of an immigrant, and made it to the 42nd floor. And so it's, I had an uncle, one of the brothers that came from the Eastern Europe, who said to me, you know, you just can't take from this country. You got to give back. And so while they were building buildings in Brooklyn, New York, and in Queens, and then eventually in the city, my uncle Zachary went and brought and bought the USS Intrepid out of mothballs and had it berthed on the west side of New York and made probably the greatest naval museum in the country. And so when it came time for things to happen, he said, you better take over. He didn't have to talk me into it because I had a passion for this country all my life. I'm 86 years old. I've had 6 heart attacks, 15 angioplasties, and 3 open heart surgery. And I'm here to do this work because God is keeping me here. And so when we decided, what can we do? How can we help? And Zachary and Admiral Trusk went into Bethesda Naval Hospital, and they came out in the evening, and there was a sailor in a car, and the windows were all fogged up, and he was sleeping, and the Admiral tapped on the window, and the sailor rolled down the window, and the Admiral said, why are you sleeping here? Well, he said, I don't have the money to go to a hotel that's close, so I figured I'd sleep in the car. Zachary said, never, never again. And so he started Fisher House. There were 82 Fisher Houses across the country, in Europe and in Hawaii. And when he died, I took over the running of Fisher Houses. And then when the war in the Middle East started, a bunch of us got together and said, you know, we have to do something. So the government was giving $6,000 to the families of KIAs, and of which $3,000 was taxable. So we raised, about a dozen of us, raised $22 million from the American public, We gave 10,000 to either the father or the mother or the wife, and 5,000 to each child. So that's until the government eventually made it 12,000 and 50,000, and now it's 100,000. So we got together and said, well, we're out of business. He said, no, let's help catastrophic wounded. So we raised $50 million, all from the American public, not one penny from the government. Because I told them, there's one thing you have to do, just give me the land for a year and stay out of my way. And we raised the money and we built the finest physical rehab center in the world in Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio. When that was done, and I'm sorry to say it's still full.
Yeah.
The next thing we did was to build NICO, National Intrepid Center of Excellence, because that was the signature wound of the war. And young people were coming back with traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress. And they were getting out of the service and getting into the VA that were giving them pills. And the pills helped them for an hour or 2 or 3, and then when the pills wore off, they were back to where they were. So we built this center with $26 million worth of imaging equipment. But we could only handle 10 or 12 every 2 weeks. So we decided that we'll build satellites. And I went to the Surgeon General of the Army and I said, okay, where should we build them? And he gave me 9 places, 9 bases. Campbell in Kentucky, I won't remember them all, but there's 7 of them that are open now, operating. 90 to 94% success rate, which we never, ever figured. We have 3 more to build. We promised 9. I got a call about a year ago from the Air Force General who said, we need one at Eglin Air Force Base. And so last week, I was at Eglin and we broke ground for the 8th one. We need to build 3 of them.
So we're in the process right now of raising $14 million to complete the project. And so I'm very proud to be a part of this with you, Arnold, more than I can express. And so if people do have an interest, let me know or reach out to us. And saving people's lives. I'm going to let Erick talk for a second. Erick was a Navy SEAL back from combat who participated in the program.
Yeah, so I'd done 8 deployments over the course of 15 years to all the known and unknown war zones. Got to a point where my life felt like a handful of sand that I just couldn't keep in. And every time a grain of sand fell out, it was my wife's fault, my son's fault, my other son's fault. It was somebody else's fault. Screaming at them, yelling at them, kind of losing my mind a lot. So I sought help. Got the help that I needed through a psychiatrist. A couple years later, a friend of mine was going through some of the same things I had experienced. I told him, you need to go get some help. And big bad Navy SEAL says, no, I'm good. You let him be. Unfortunately, Bill killed himself a couple years later. And I take that as a personal failure. But through my help, I got better. I got improvement, but not totally perfect. I was fortunate enough to become a commanding officer in the United States Navy, one of the SEALs Advanced Training Command. And I continued my psychological help. So the psychiatrist would ask me, hey, we're going to have a meeting next week. Do you want to come up to my office, which is away from your headquarters, so that your folks don't see that you're getting help? And I said, no, on the contrary, you will come down to my building. I want you to walk around my building, say hi to everybody you see, and when they ask you why you're there, you tell them you're there to talk to the old man, to the boss. I want them to know that I am getting help, which means it's okay for everyone else to get help. After a couple months of working with that psychiatrist, was deemed that I was referred to the Intrepid Spirit Center up in Camp Pendleton, California. So I went for the 4-week intensive outpatient program. Camp Pendleton is about an hour away from where I lived, and I was extremely fortunate enough to stay in the Fisher House, which is about 100 yards away from the Intrepid Spirit Center. If I couldn't stay in that facility, I wouldn't have gone. So that was, again, the second stage of my life-saving event here. Went through the 4 weeks, multiple ways of therapy, came back, told my folks about all the people that worked for me, told them all about it. Flash forward another couple of years, I'm retiring. I talked to my doctor, Dr. Gonzalez, and he says, hey, by the way, the fact that you had me walk around the building, the fact that you told everyone what happened to you at the Intrepid Spirit Center, 5 people came to me and sought help. And of those 5 people, they were all referred to the Intrepid Spirit Center. So I don't think I saved 5 people's lives, but I know I saved 5 marriages, and I saved them from a miserable existence, and it's all because this gentleman here had a vision, and it's improving the lives of active duty and veterans.
How many people do you think have been? How many people, sir, do you think have been benefited over the course of your Fisher houses?
3 weeks ago, I went to a conference at NICO of the directors of all the spirit centers. By the way, every penny that the American people give us to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund goes towards these centers. No, nothing for advertising, nothing for salaries. The board does that. So every penny goes to building these centers. And we can build them in half the time, twice the quality, and half the cost than the government can. And we'll continue to do this work as long as God lets me stay here.
Very, very proud to know you, sir. Thank you very much. Give it up for these guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Erick and Arnold, thank you very much, sir. Very proud to know you.